Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Bagels and Business. This is our monthly series to just dive a little bit more into business topics and different things. Today, we're going to be going over Sales 101. I'm going to preface this with sales is a very broad category and topic. And so I'm going to be talking about one section of it, but if there are any questions along the way, please feel free to stop me, ask questions, talk about yourselves, all that good stuff. Before we get started, I'm going to introduce myself and then I'll have you all introduce yourselves really quickly and then we'll dive into the topic. So, hi, I'm Jen Morgan. I'm the Virginia program lead for RIoT. RIoT, we are a 501c3 nonprofit that is focused on economic development and job creation in the technology sector broadly. Really focused on helping businesses grow and scale, entrepreneurs grow and scale, startups grow and scale, along with having these community events in which everyone can network and get together. And even if you are an established business, bringing you into the fold and figuring out ways to help you develop out your business even further so that you are successful in the long run. We focus in the technology sector, but technology is a very broad sector in and of itself, and every business in the 21st century is a technology business. We have some very creative businesses in the room today, and I know that they aren't traditional tech businesses, but they are in so many other ways. And I'm sure that all of you who are in the traditional tech business sectors also are going to be interacting with non-traditional tech businesses with your technologies at some point. And so having that connection and figuring out ways to communicate with each other is also a big foundation for our RIoT. So with all that said, if we can go around in the room first, starting here, and then we'll jump online, just say your name, your business, and we'll go from there. So,
hi, I'm Katrina Spees. I'm a veterinarian and I am starting a rehab practice in Stafford.
Awesome, thank you.
I'm a dog lover, right? So, hi, I'm Lindsay Brown. I own a small marketing agency here locally, but I do service. I've got clients out in California, all over the country, so it's more digital marketing, and I am in partnership. I do have a contract with Stafford County Economic Development, work closely with RIoT and with the Fed.
And my name is Stephanie Cox. I own Art Car Kids Enrichment Studio, which is having its grand opening here in Stafford on the 18th. We'll be doing our ribbon cutting ceremony. It's a children's art studio.
I'm so excited. Okay, we'll jump online. Rex, do you want to kick us off?
Rex Bishop. I'm retired business professor, live in Fredericksburg, Virginia.
Awesome, nice. Dan.
Hey, I'm Dan Wilson. I've got 23 years experience in technology and product marketing, and I'm one of RIoT's mentors. So if your company needs some product marketing help, I offer my time for free.
Awesome. Thank you. Jason.
Hi, I'm Jason Baird. I just started as a financial rep, opening a financial planning practice with Northwestern Mutual. I'd doing a career change. I was a youth pastor for 11 years. My last location was actually in Stafford, but now I'm located in Reston, hoping to help families just have conversations about their comprehensive financial plan and helping them understand how all their money stuff works together and find ways to make it more efficient.
Awesome, thank you. Larry.
Muted.
Me?
No, Larry.
Oh, Larry, we can't hear you. We'll come back to you. Nick.
Yes, good morning, everybody. I'm Nick Pelos. I'm sorry I'm not on my camera right now, but happy to be a part. This is actually my first meeting with RIoT, so looking forward to it, and I'm a sales consultant in the area.
Welcome. Okay, I'm gonna, please forgive me if I butcher this. Nira?
Neeraj, yes. Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Neeraj. I have my own startup. I'm actually doing more of a consulting business right now, and I've been focused on product marketing, business development, and sales.
Cool. Reach out to Dan. Will.
Hey, I'm a former RAP alum and have a startup in the not necessarily medical device space, but we developed a monitoring system for liquid nitrogen tanks. And we are about to go live with our product here in the next like 30 days. So I thought this was pretty relevant for me. Thanks.
They'll definitely connect with Warren when you do go live so we can promote your launch. Okay,
Great.
Larry.
Hey, sorry about the headset issue. Yeah, I'm Larry Molis. I'm a fractional chief technology officer. I have a business called Roadmap Works, and I'm based in Charlottesville, Virginia. Glad to be here. Thanks.
Welcome. And then finally, Tom.
Hey, everybody, Tom Snyder. I am the founder of RIoT. It's good to see a few familiar faces and a number of new ones online. So welcome.
Yes, thank you. Okay, let's dive on into Sales 101. There we go. Okay. Imagine you were asked to speak at an event. How would you prepare? Unless you are a master of improv, and I am definitely not, you would likely create an outline of your presentation and make sure you understood who your audience was so that everyone would gain value from your presentation. Similar to a good speech, your sales effort also needs to be a bit of a structured process. What is the sales process? A sales process refers to the series of repeatable steps that you can take to move a prospect from an early stage lead to a closed customer. Why should we build a sales process? Well, it helps you guide how you are going to convert someone from that initial contact to that customer and keep them there and build your business. Two basic foundational things. It's needed. So how do you build a sales process? First step, research. Know your business. Are you selling B2B or B2C? Are you selling business to business or as a business to a customer? Know your product and services. What are you selling? What are the pros of it? What are some of the cons? There's cons to everything. Not everything's going to be perfect for every customer. Know what kind of features you have, what kind of benefits you have, what are you rolling out later on? What might you have today that you might be working towards something different tomorrow, and then you can upsell someone later. Know your competition. It's very rare that you are 100% unique. There's somebody else doing something in the same arena as your business. Who are those people? What are they doing? Why are you different? What makes you better? What makes somebody want to move from that person, that business to your business? All of those things. And finally, know your customers. Any business, the number one thing is that your business must be solving a problem. And it must be solving your customer's problem. If you're not solving someone else's problem, they're not going to buy your solution. So as part of that first step of researching, define who your customers are. If you were here for my go-to-market presentation 2 months ago, I took the slide directly from it because in that presentation, that really is building into the sales process. Knowing who your customers are is vital. What are their demographics? What are their habits? What is the psychology behind them? Ultimately, you're trying to determine what problem you're solving for this customer. Some things to be thinking about is this being sold to a person or to a person who is inside of a business? So I'm selling clothes to a person, but I'm selling Salesforce as like a software to a business, not to a person within a business. Age, gender, education level, income, all of these things matter as to like how you price your products. If I'm selling $1 flip-flops at Old Navy to 12-year-olds versus $100 rainbow flip-flops to 35-year-olds who are never going to buy another pair of flip-flops again, vastly different demographics. What do they do? What are their, personality types? Thinking those kinds of things through. If you are somebody who is super, super organized and you want that task listing, then you might be selling one type of project management software to them versus somebody who is creative and wants to have the chaos and wants to be able to do everything on their own, different type of project management software. What are their habits? How do they interact? If you know that you're primarily targeting people who are commuters to buy coffee in the morning, your coffee shop is nowhere near a train station where all the commuters go, that's a bad target audience for you. Also thinking through, are they the buyer and the user personas? I might be the purchaser for my company, but I might not ever use the product. So who's actually going to use the product versus who's going to purchase the product? Step 2, develop some leads. I think that we can think of the sales process as a funnel. And at the very top of that funnel is the leads. Broad. Funnels are broad. So here's where you have the highest number of potential customers and contacts. A lead is anyone who is potentially interested in your product or service. I liked this example of someone who is outside of the store, looking through the window, thinking about coming in, kind of thing. Where do you typically connect with leads? Where is your target audience? Where do they interact with your competition? Where do they network? Where do they go? Think about conferences or trade shows or networking events, social media, websites, newsletters, emails, all these things. Where do you interact with people who would be potentially interested in buying your product or service? Step 3, connect and develop with your prospects. So as we move down from that next level of the sales funnel, from leads to prospects, prospects are those who've you've identified those leads, and now it's time to connect with them. Those prospects are those folks who you actually connect with. They've interacted with someone at your business and are interested in buying your product or service. Here's where you also want to determine if they're qualified to buy your product or service. And not everyone is going to be. To determine if they're what we call qualified, you can do this through the sales discovery call. And this template and this kind of call is something that you're going to have to do over and over with both the prospects and as you move that prospect through the process, trying to learn from them. This discovery call is that initial first meeting, and it can be in person or virtual, and it serves as that first point of contact between your salesperson and your likely customer. Some common questions to ask here are talk about their company. What are their day-to-days? What are their goals? What are they responsible for? What problems are they having? What kind of timeline and budget do they have? If you're thinking if it's more B2C, business to customer, how does your product interact in their daily life? What does their normal schedules look like? How do they plan things out? What's their route look like? All those kinds of things. You're trying to listen in this discovery call more than you are trying to sell. What problems are they having? And then think about how your product or service can solve that problem. And you'll figure out pretty quickly if they're a qualified customer or not. You know, are they actually in need of your product or service? If I'm gonna use the examples in the room, if I am talking to Stephanie about art and how much I love art, but I don't have any children, I'm not a good customer for you.
Correct.
But I still might really love art and want to be involved some way, but at the end of the day, I'm not a good customer for you. Please, if there's any questions, stop me along the way. The goal is to determine if you can solve their problem. And if you can't, that's okay. And if you can, then it's time to sell the solution. Always be listening more than talking, and then take that information that you learned in that discovery call and highlight how your solution will solve their problem in your pitch to them. There's going to be rejections. It's the common part of life. So I might be the perfect customer for you, but I might not be in need. I might not want your solution right now. And taking and learning from that person why I don't want your solution is also really important. Is it because it's too expensive, or is there somebody else who's doing something different? Are there features that aren't available, or are you just like out of my geographical driving distance area? Why don't you want us right now? And then learn from that and figure out, oh, is that something that I can easily change? Or is that something that is just not like doable for me right now as a business? And learn and evolve from that information. Final step, nurture the customer. After you close the deal, the sales process doesn't stop. It's important here to remember to always continue to communicate with that customer, both as the sales rep and then as part of the business. What happens next? Who do they go to? Are you going to be doing their onboarding? Are you going to be continuing to interact with them? Are they going to be put to somebody else in your business? Give them the information. If you're thinking about like retail businesses or something like that, like what other products are you coming out with? How do you continue to communicate with them in ways that they're going to want to come back? Think about those newsletters and those emails and those receipts. How do you continue to keep your business in their mind? This can provide future value in terms of upselling or reselling, and then also good referrals. If I've had a good experience, I want to tell other people that I've had a good experience with that business and that you should buy their product or service. So keeping those kinds of things, nurturing the customer beyond just the end of the sale. Like I said, think about it as a funnel. The top with the leads, very broad. Everyone who is potentially interested in your business is that lead, and figuring out, okay, from my target audience, how do I want to initially connect with those leads? How do I reach out to them? Social media, newsletters, conferences, where do they interact? Where should I be working? Then moving down from there is I have all these leads and I've contacted them, and some of them are going to return my initial contact. They're turning into prospects. Okay, this is a potential opportunity here. And I'm going to take those prospects and figure out how to narrow down from there who's actually qualified to buy my product or service. That moves them into the opportunities category. Okay, they're interested, they're good quality prospects, they're good customers for me potentially, and I'm going to pitch to them and I'm going to figure out ways to get them to become that final customer in my funnel. And then I have my group of customers and I'm nurturing them at the end. Questions, comments? No?
Jen, I'll jump in real quickly. In mature organizations, particularly larger organizations, those first parts of the funnel often are really what you would normally call marketing. The idea of creating awareness of your product, and then not just awareness, but really qualifying leads through creating like engagement with the right people that actually could be the prospects. And then the sales team tends to be the one that then comes in and says, okay, here are these folks that have engaged or have learned about us through those marketing efforts, ideally inbound opportunities, and their job is to close them. When there aren't inbound opportunities, then you also have, another kind of sales called outbound, where you're going out and more directly prospecting, where your qualification of leads might be things like doing, targeted searches on LinkedIn with certain criteria or other kinds of things like that. But that top of that funnel, when you're able to get kind of inbound opportunities, really that's through the qualifying efforts of the marketing team. But whether it's inbound or outbound, closing the deals is typically what you call sales.
Anything else from anyone online? Okay. Some good habits along with this, with the sales process. Creating a CRM or a customer relationship management system to track those leads to prospects, to opportunities, to customers is important. How are you keeping track of who you've already engaged with, how things are going? Welcome. This can be done on a simple Excel spreadsheet, or it can be done in a variety of online systems that you can interact with. It's really up to you and how you work as a business, what works for you and what you want to do here. Stick to, or identify and stick to who your buyer personas are. Who is that target customer? Who are you trying to actually sell to? If you've identified that your primary target market are women between the ages of 25 and 34, and all you're interacting with are women over the age of 55, what's going on there? Is it like that those are the people who are actually interested in your product versus the 25 to 34-year-olds? Or is that just who you are reaching out to and have in your network, and you need to figure out how to reach your actual target audience? Know your product. Know what works and what doesn't. We said this earlier, but understand, what somebody is trying to get out of your product or service. Practice active listening during any kind of call with any potential customer. Listen more than you talk. Learn from them what their problems are, why they're interested in potentially buying your product or service. Always follow up. If you're bad at emails like me, have somebody who is good at emails, or figure out a way to be better at it, which is what I'm working on. But always follow up with people, because they want to be engaged. They want to show people want to know that you care about them, and want to be able to be engaged. And we also all just don't mind that extra reminder sometimes.
Jen, I'll jump.
Go ahead.
If you don't mind too, on this follow-up, I think follow-up is critically important. And particularly if you're doing B2B, I'd recommend you follow up as much as you can, on the phone and in person. If you're doing like a massive B2C kind of play where you're just looking at basic consumer sales, one-time sales of a product or something, there are a lot of more digital marketing and email-based marketing and other kinds of campaigns like that. But this follow-up, it's one thing to send an email, it's another thing to get somebody on the phone. It's a lot easier to ignore an email or say no to an email than it is to somebody on the phone. And so if you can really build a good relationship by following up, in person or at least where you're speaking actively with the person, in my experience, that's tended to be much more effective in being able to shorten the sales cycle and get to the sale.
I think the other thing here, following up, is figure out what works for you and your business. If you know that first contact should be an email, and then the second contact should be a phone call, and the third contact needs a reminder email, and then another phone call, like whatever that system is for you, stick to it and keep practicing through that and seeing how your customers react around that system. Always solve for the customer. you're solving someone else's problem. And so if you're trying to just push your solution and it's not actually going to solve their problem, then they're not going to be a repeat customer, or they're not going to give you a good referral. Build those personal relationships. Like I said, people want to feel valued and want to know that you care about them and about what their needs are. And so figuring out, okay, hey, maybe this business has been a customer of mine for the past 10 years and they're going through some rough times right now. And I'm just gonna like reduce my price a little bit for them because I know that in the long-term value, they're gonna come back and they're gonna remember that. And we're gonna have that repeat customer and they're gonna go out and tell people. Prepare ahead of time. Started off the conversation with making sure that you prepare your speeches, prepare your sales process, know who your target customer is, research them, research the company, prepare your sales pitch, work through all of that. And then always look for potential customers wherever you go. We've all been in conversations with folks that didn't think that this would have any kind of connection to my work life, but all of a sudden did. And so always make sure that you're representing yourself and your business and finding those potential customers wherever you go. So that's sales a little bit. Questions, comments? What's next? In the RIoT first, we are hosting our annual developer day at Schema Business School in Raleigh on August 18th. This is free and open to the public. So anybody in the area or not in the area, please feel free to check this out and come and attend. If you are coming from out of town, please feel free to reach out and we can help give you guys recommendations on hotels and places to stay and stuff like that. As well as places to work with RIoT Labs and our office space. We're also hosting our foundations program, which is a little bit deeper dive of topics covered in Bagels and Business this fall. This is also free and open. Our registration deadline is September 22nd, and the program actually starts October 2nd. So both of these things can be found on our website for more information, and I'm happy to provide anyone information via email. So. Okay. Any other questions on sales?
Okay,
What do we
can I
got?
ask a question? So this is position really is building a sales process, and you provided a lot of really good information kind of about sales strategy and so on. Can you talk a little bit about how to kind of create repeatable processes in the organization once you've learned some effective, maybe you have a lead salesperson that's figured something effective and you want to get the team working consistently in the same manner? What are maybe some tips or tools for that?
Yeah, I think that once you have that sales process defined, how are you reaching out to your leads? Then what do you do with the lead? And then, how do you take that lead to a prospect and prospect to opportunity and so on? Documentation is the key component in that. So saying like, oh, me, the sales lead person, is going to gather all the leads and I'm going to send that initial first contact out. And I'm going to document in my CRM, my Excel spreadsheet, my online system, something like that, that I've reached out via email or phone call or however that is, to those people. And here's my next follow-up date. And then it's now this person's responsibility, if that person responds, to follow up to become that prospect and to move them through the next part of the process. Having those clearly defined roles and having that some sort of tracking system of what's the next step, not just having it in the universe and saying, oh, this is, who somebody in the organization is talking to this person, is a good process around that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that helps, Jen. I think for those who are not familiar with CRMs, I really think a good CRM can be a guiding tool to keep your overall organization organized. Spreadsheets work surprisingly well if you have the discipline to really stay on your quote follow-up cycle, and you are able to kind of remember conversation to conversation as you're working a relationship, kind of where the relationship is and what was most recently said. But these CRM tools are a great way for, say, one person to engage with a customer. They might automate, and these tools, by the way, like the most widespread tool is Salesforce. It's also pretty expensive. HubSpot's a pretty good free tool if anyone wants to experiment with a free one, but you can do things like have the emails and conversations that you've had automatically log into a file about that customer. And so you have, one salesperson might talk to somebody, and then someone else on your team talks to that same client. Well, they can go into the CRM and they can see what was most recently discussed, and they can see notes about next steps and so on and so forth. So that's a good tool to have an organization, whether you're a solo salesperson or you have a full team.
And Tom, I was just typing that into the chat. I found it very useful, especially as you have a number of contacts that you're pursuing. The ability to set reminders on the CRM that they'll automatically email you, hey, after a week, it's time to follow up with the customer. That's been very helpful to keep you on top of that follow-up game as well.
Yeah, I think the nice thing about whatever system you choose to use is, one, setting those in our organization weekly check-ins with everyone to say like, hey, who's talked to who, and let's make sure that this is up to date. And then two is that people come and go. So having that, documented system of, oh, this person we engaged with 3 years ago, and the person that they were talking to 3 years ago is no longer with the organization. So, but we have the documented notes of where that left off and why did they not convert. And we can pick up where that person left off. And so that kind of information, regardless of the stage of your business, is super important to figure out how are people engaging with your organization, where are they participating. For us, we do a lot of events like this, and in 3 years you might come back and be in our accelerator program, and it's super important to say like, oh, hey, we first engaged with you, back in Bagels and Business, and now we're seeing you here. That's important for the organizational growth and strategy. So.
I have a CRM. I just want to add, I own a franchise. I am still young. And so the franchise, they gave us a CRM, but it's very basic, generic. There's no codes, no nothing. It's just put the business card information in there, that's it. If you're not familiar with the CRM, it's good to start out with a basic, but see if you can find one that can transition to next levels. Like I transitioned to another one called Monday.com. They actually have a free one, and then it goes all the way up to Pro, which is much more expensive. But it really helps you learn the basics of it first before you dive in. But Salesforce and them are very expensive.
Yeah,
you really need to know what you're doing before if you don't have an IT person that can sit with you and show you how to do it. But if you want to start with the basics, something that you can actually build a roadmap. You can design it where, first I got the lead, then develop it where the next step and the next step you want to do. And it'll remind you, don't forget to make the phone call, don't forget to send an email, don't forget to, it's really good roadmap to remind you, because sometimes you forget it. You've been doing it for years, sometimes you can set up your own steps for your mind to do those things with each different type of leads. You put the leads in different categories. And I like this Monday.com because it's colorful.
Yeah.
So you can really set things apart as to what you're trying to do. But I'm just saying, Salesforce, I've worked with Salesforce, and they're very advanced.
Yeah.
And you really need to know what you're doing before you put that money down on, especially as a business.
Yeah, that's you can do a lot of those things with a basic Excel spreadsheet to get those initial things. I need those calendar reminders, so Monday's great. If you like things that are less colorful, Asana's one of those project management systems. Anything that you can categorize different people in different categories and find ways to connect with them. Monday, ClickUp, there's tons of them out there. So, yeah. Yeah, awesome. Well, that's it for sales, unless there's other questions. Anything else? No? Okay.
Jennifer, what
Yes.
what is the topic next month on September 14?
To be determined.
Okay.
I will make sure to get it out in the email.
talk about?
Yeah, what do you want to talk about? We're also open to, yeah, we are open to suggestions, and figuring out like where are there gaps? Like what information do you need for us to tell you more about? So any comments?
Oh, I'll
From
think
anyone?
about it though. I'll think about that. All right. Well, thank you. And that's a fine answer. I was just curious. I've enjoyed this. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Well, thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. Hopefully those online are having a bagel and enjoying coffee. Those of us in the room are doing that. So we will see you next month and have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.
Take care, everyone.